I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Thank you, everyone, for coming out. Lovely evening tonight. I'm sure you're just here to enjoy the ambiance of the planning board. But you have joined the October 26th meeting of the Town of Canandaigua Planning Board. And let me introduce the people at the dais. My far right is John Robitella, our secretary. Next to John is Kim Burkett, our our person on the virtual. Next to Kim is Amanda Van Laken, planning board member. Next to Amanda, coming this way, is Gary Hughes, planning board member. To my right is Ryan Stachak, planning board member. I'm Chuck Whaler, planning board chairman. Sean Back is our planner.
Lance is online.
Oh, Lance is online. Oh, good.
We have our
Wonder
town
what
engineer
Lance is.
online, and I don't know if this is joining
Chris
us.
is not unless we need him and we will.
Okay,
I
so,
spoke to him earlier.
and excuse tonight is planning board member Bob Reports. Okay. In case there's an emergency, the lights go out, the rain start coming into the.
Yeah, that's
Both of the
fine.
exits,
That's a lot of
my
rain.
right and left. Hopefully we won't have to. For the meeting tonight, we have just one new public hearing, which I guess we're going to open and continue, but I'll at least announce that it was duly noticed in the Daily Messenger, in the October 19th edition of the Daily Messenger. So that takes care of the public hearing. Privilege of the floor. If anyone here would like to address the board regarding an issue that's not on the agenda, now would be the time to do so. Is there anyone out in virtual land who would like to address the board on anything? Okay, we're all here for a reason. That's good. So that being the case, let us move on. If you would like to address the board this evening, if you're present, come to the podium, give us your name and address, and say what you have to say. We will proceed by having each application reviewed by the applicant. He or she will make a presentation as to what the application is all about, what they intend to do. The board will then deliberate on the application, ask questions, comments, and then I'll open it up to the public. As far as if there's anyone who would like to make comments from the public, they'll come back to the board, and we will then take action on the application if everyone feels comfortable in doing so. If you're in virtual land and you'd like to speak to the board on a particular application, please raise your hand, either virtually or physically, and wave to us, and we'll recognize you, and again, give us your name and address, and you will be recognized. So all that being said, I think we can move on to our first application this evening, which is Venezia Associates representing 40 Westport owner property yet to be addressed on Melinda Drive, and Corey seeking single stage subdivision approval, 34 lots of various sizes. They're so listed on the agenda, and I will open the hearing, but then I will state that this application required the deliberation and approval of the ZBA, the Zoning Board of Adjustment. They conferred on this at their last meeting last week. It's my understanding that the ZBA has continued their hearing.
Yes.
So that being said, I guess we continue our hearing, because we cannot take action until the ZBA has adjudicated the application. So it looks like we're looking at the 23rd of November.
Yes, you can, I did speak with Chris about this earlier, you can open the public hearing if you like. You just clearly, right, you just can't take action tonight, and it's up to you, Chairman, if you want to take any from this.
Well, again, the hearing is open. If anybody from the public would like to address the board on this application, again, realizing that we will not be taking any action. Pending action taken by the ZBA and granting the variances that are required. So if anyone here, there, anywhere has any comments,
Speak.
if not.
Yeah. I have a comment.
Surely, please be recognized.
Lawrence Cook, 4125 Onalinda Drive.
Okay, Lawrence, we're all ears.
Okay, my letter is part of the neighborhood letters on this particular subdivision request. This is the third time that this property has been up before zoning and planning boards for subdivision. The property is a very wet property. Water is coming off from it continuously throughout the year, especially down in the lot 4 area, down in the corner by the steep entry curve of the Onalinda Drive entry point. A number of neighbors have written letters, both back in 2009, the first time it was brought up and failed to get approval, in 2018, and now in 2021. The area is very wet. It's got natural springs. Even in the driest summer days, you'd probably need to have your boots on to walk up into it. The aquifers feed into that lower part of the property, and natural springs bring the water out down into the culvert and run down into Canandaigua Lake. And the lower portions of these lots 3 and 4 are in the residential lake district and as part of the Canandaigua Lake watershed area, of course. The number of cars and so forth going by this property has dramatically increased over the years. And this last summer, one property generated approximately 300 cars because it's a short-term rental. There's 3 short-term rentals using Onalinda Drive. So the amount of traffic by these lots 3 and 4 and the driveway in question is incredible. And it's very dangerous. We've had quite a few accidents up here or near misses. Kevin O'Vaney is provided input back in 4118 regarding this. He's walked the property several times, and I think he may be providing input again on this particular subdivision request. I would ask the board to carefully review all of the information on this subdivision request, as well as particularly the 4118 request, which has videos showing the water flow and storm events coming off that property. We could run out there tonight and take some videos. It's probably flowing really good, but it flows all the time off that property. It's hard to believe that anybody in their wildest imagination would be able to subdivide and develop that and build on it. It's just not that type of property. You might even call it swampland. So I would encourage the board to come up and take a look at the property, walk in there where the water's flowing out, see how it is for themselves, and especially review that information that's on file. Michelle said that she knows the drives that it's on, and I'm sure that Shauna could assist in making all that information available. I appreciate the opportunity to do provide input to the board tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cook. Does any of the board members have any comments?
I'm just wondering, do we know, can we understand what the ZBA is wrestling with or anything like that? Or is it, or would you like to just let that go?
No, you were at the ZBA meeting, and
What was their
the
concern? What was their
question as
concern?
to the variances that they needed for this had to do with frontage, mostly frontage.
Frontage.
There was an issue whether frontage on a private driveway is considered frontage or not. And it got into a back and forth between the applicant and Chris as to what applied, and it was felt that some more research had to be done.
Okay.
To review a regulation of the code and determine what exactly should or has to be applied for and the relief given. As far as Mr. Cook's issues, drainage and traffic are two concerns that we certainly are well aware of.
Yep.
There's been a couple applications up on the Linda in the last 5-6 years. And I think this board is on record that we're concerned about the condition of on Linda as far as its width, its ownership, and
Yes.
as well as certainly the drainage.
Yep.
And I can speak as the chairman of the drainage committee that was one of the hot spots that we had on our list of subject problem areas with that water coming down on Linda and out onto and across County Route 16.
Yep.
So again, we're well aware of your issues. We'll certainly look at that. I know Lance from MRB is listening to this discussion. He certainly will consider that in his review from a technical standpoint. And if and when we see the application on the 23rd of November, we will hopefully act to your benefit. Okay, Mr. Cook? You're muted.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your comments regarding this application.
Okay, and for the record, we do have your email and pictures that you had sent, and they are in our file with this application, so we certainly will have that part of our deliberations. All right, anything else on this application? If not, excuse me.
That's more.
And yes, there's even more material with videos and additional pictures and so forth on the 2118 application, which I believe is TPN. Hang on.
Yeah, I think you referenced 2 applications in your letter, Mr. Cook, so we certainly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. We have someone at the podium.
Yes, my name is Robert Meyer, and my wife Michelle is here with me tonight. We live at 4066 Westlake Road. We're not sure about, whether the zoning board of appeals or this body is really who, we should be talking to. And we've learned about these things relatively late in the process. The notice you indicated was placed in the newspaper that really nobody gets. But I know that there are legal issues pertaining to what's proper notice, but I don't know if, the typical this property is under review notice was ever placed, but if it was, it's not in view of anybody on a public road. So I would raise objection to that concern about ability to notifying those of us who have interest, ability to prepare and respond. But down to the matter, we have several concerns about the matter, beginning with one allowing those with access to a private road to create new development onto a private road without the permission and relationship with other owners who actually own the road. And that pertains not just to this matter, but to future matters. We live on a shared drive adjacent to this, and this is pertinent to us if you allow this kind of action to occur. Second of all, I mean, this probably pertains more to the zoning board of appeals, but much of what is being proposed could be done without, I mean, for the new driveway, could be done without having to go through a narrow slot of land and having to have an appeal or variance. It's all done to manipulate the land to get the most and to build more property there. And we have concern that the family ownership there is going to continue to expand upon the number of lots they want to do here. I think it's a pattern that has now been established here. There's no water or sewer access to these new lots. And based on the pattern we've seen with the ownership of this land and then getting variance to get new water in through another subdivision, shows that we can expect to likely get some appeal for new water access or sewer access there too, which would have to come in through that road area. Then I would just like to raise concern about the effects on our property. The drainage from this property goes across to the top of Linda Drive, and much of that runs south and joins with a small stream and culvert that runs between our driveway or underneath our driveway, adjacent. Our driveway runs parallel to Linda up the hill and then separates in the opposite direction. Washout from that water has damaged our driveway, and the driveway from Linda is higher than ours, and so ours suffers more. We expended $8,000 between us and our neighbor to repair that with this past year. So I would suggest that there is already water issues. So, and then I guess this last issue is an issue that relates not just to the current building and on the Linda Drive, but to safety in general there. And I don't know who is in charge of street addresses and where people place mailboxes, but if you were to try to find any of the street addresses in that near vicinity in an urgent manner, you will have a great deal of trouble, because on Linda Road addresses are on Westlake Road, and they certainly create a lot of confusion. So if you have more of these addresses in random spots in that area that don't match and follow a number, it's going to create more confusion. Somebody's going to have an emergency access isn't going to happen, and somebody's going to be in trouble. So I think there's several reasons here. And this whole process of a town supervisor getting property that's previously been denied to be accessed and built upon, no longer a town supervisor, but still getting access to this, really smacks of cronyism. And I think that it shows. Thank you.
Where's your property, Mr. Mayor, as far as the, can you?
You'll have to
Yeah,
scroll up.
about that.
So it's south of Linda?
Where Linda comes out to. Sure. Oh, okay. I was gonna say that was the RMS. Yeah, okay. I apologize. You take access to on Linda, you,
No,
No,
our
no.
driveway runs immediately adjacent. to it.
okay, yeah, you said it's parallel.
But just south of
We
it?
can show the, yeah.
Yeah, we can pull it up
We
to
can pull it up.
Encore.
Yeah, I'd like to know.
The aerial.
You're doing a great job.
Yes, thank you.
Sure. What's the address?
What's your address?
4066 Congress.
Technology.
Had somebody comment on me in the mailbox, the numbers.
It's also
Numbers all of a
safe to
sudden
pay your
changed.
taxes.
It's not, that's like road, it's on Linda.
That is our part. So if you go north from there, you can see that our driveway runs behind the houses and runs down.
Oh, there's a shared driveway in the back, in the
Shared
back.
Driveway behind ours and
Oh, behind.
4060 and 4056.
But where does on Linda, it keeps rolling up, where does on Linda come in? There it is, right there.
Okay, that's-
So
Oh, so you
there's
come
a
up
stream-
just side of that,
there's a stream that runs here,
right?
Yeah.
and then there's drainage that runs
Oh, yeah,
along the
runs
top.
down
Yeah, I
It's right
see,
here.
yep, yep,
This often overflows and
Yep.
and runs down.
I see, I
Certainly,
see.
we're familiar with what happens on.
Oh, yeah.
As far as drainage.
Yep,
And that washout has undermined our driveway and
probably numerous
we
times.
had to do extensive repairs. We had not only just repaving, but they had to tear out and redo the driveway.
So your driveway and your neighbor's driveway is right next to on.
Immediately adjacent, runs parallel.
Yep.
And
Then it loops around the back.
I think one of Mr. Cook's issues and some of the other neighbors was the traffic condition at that intersection there, which is probably a bear also.
yeah, it can be busy. I think that I'm more concerned personally about the water and the damage to the property. And just to say that the water drainage there is clearly an issue. And I'm concerned about the way the driveway that was drawn to come up above that, because that's clearly going to impact this new driveway with the switchback that is proposed, which, I don't see any real reason why it has to be in that location, but is going to be directly, impacting the runoff there.
If I could make a comment.
Sure.
Michelle Meyer. Speaking of the safety of the traffic that goes in and out of there, typically when I'm coming in from town, so I'd be headed south, I'll have my blinker on to go into our driveway. We only have the 3 properties up there, 2 of which of the 3 historically have not been up there very often. So when I have my blinker on to turn right, the people coming down on Olinda don't expect me to be turning up that driveway, expect me to be turning up on Olinda, and will pull out in front of me turning left. If that makes any sense.
Yep.
to you.
Yep, yep.
So there have been numerous times when I go, I'll slow down considerably when somebody's turning, headed north out of Linda, because I know for a fact they're expecting me to go up on Linda and not go past them in the park.
To my knowledge, most of the development that's occurred up on Linda, especially on the west side, was done on existing lots that was created in the past. And as well as any development that was created or done between the Westlake Road and on Linda. I know there's a new house being built down a little further. That was an existing lot. They came in for site plan approval. We put them through a lot of scrutiny as far as, shoreline guidelines and all that kind of stuff, but it is being built. So this is the first time, to my knowledge, that an actual subdivision of creating more lots has occurred on the Westbrook property. So
I do know that, I've lived on this property for almost 20 years now. And Westbrook was buying up all that property back there. And at that time was already planning on subdividing that property and was trying to get access, was trying to buy the corner lot off of our driveway so that he could get access that way onto Westlake Road, but had to get approval by us and the neighboring, because we're written into the deed for that access. So it's something he's been planning on for over, almost 20 years now, just trying to develop that back. Okay.
Chuck, this is Lawrence Cook. I have one more comment to support Mr. Meyer and his wife, if I may.
Yes, make it brief, Lawrence, because we should move on.
Very brief. I personally witnessed, and I believe it was 2014, when this massive amount of water came off the 4118 property and also down the stream that was referenced from the Morel development up to the west. It was so strong that it was about 2 feet deep and at least 1.5 feet deep down on the West Lake Road. But I stood there and watched the damage to the driveway that Mr. Meyer was talking about, which is right adjacent to the Olinda Drive on the west. It's just typical of what's going on with that land that's trying to subdivide. And I fully support everything that he said. And also the board, take a look at Matt Ekdahl's 4137 area that's all filled in from all the silt and pollutants that are washing into Canandaigua Lake just to the south of his boathouse. All you got to do is walk down and look at that culvert pipe, and you could walk right out in the lake. It's only a few inches deep as you go out. It's a real travesty. Thank you.
Okay, I want to move on. If our attorney was here, he probably said we had too much discussion on this. Well, to the benefit of the applicant being here, but out of a courtesy for you folks coming out tonight and for Mr. Cook tuning in, I let you. We did some fact finding essentially, and we appreciate your input. So with that being said,
I make a motion to continue this Westbrook for Venezia Associates for Corey Westbrook to the November 23rd Town of Canandaigua Planning Board meeting.
okay.
I'll second that.
Second
Amanda.
from Amanda. That'll be, of course, pending what the ZBA does the week before. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Good. The hearing's been continued. Thanks, Coach, for coming out.
Thank you.
We'll move on now. I think Fred's here representing the Futterman, so we'll look at a new site plan submitted by McMahon LaRue representing Eli and Peggy Futterman, owners of property at 4799 County Route 16. And the Futtermans are seeking a single stage site plan approval for the demolition of an existing home and the construction of a new single family dwelling and garage. Greg, you want to tell us what you have in mind?
Yes, thank you. I apologize. I had planned to be there in person tonight, but 490 out of Rochester is at a standstill. The Futtermans own the property or have owned the property just south of here. We were in before the board a couple of years ago to get approval for an addition to that home. And since that time, they have purchased this property to the north, 4799. Their plans are to demolish the existing home, which is just a very basic house. There's really no indoor plumbing, no septic system, and then also demolish the existing garage and replace the house with a new 2-story wood frame structure and a new 1-car garage. And we have been before the Zoning Board of Appeals. We have received variances for a side setback variance for the proposed garage and a rear setback variance for the house, which puts the new house basically in the same location as the old house. Also, as part of this, we're proposing a reconfiguration of the Futterman's 2 lots, a re-subdivision of the 2 lots. We've submitted an application for administrative subdivision or re-subdivision. And the purpose of that is since this lot, the existing lot has no septic system, where there's currently a system under design that's going to go north of the existing north-south driveway, I'm sorry, west of the existing north-south driveway, there's an existing pull-off that's shown, and that would be eliminated to accommodate the septic system. Grove Engineering, Bill Grove, is in the process of getting that septic system approved by the watershed inspector and the New York State Department of Health. He's doing that for the Futtermans. I know he's completed his testing and is in the process of obtaining those approvals. That's about the extent of the proposed work. Again, that the parcel is landlocked, but there is an access easement down the driveway to the Futterman's original home and over to this parcel.
Okay. Board members, questions? Concerns? You had gotten 4 variances originally, right? Right. And
Yeah, we had applied. We had applied for a side setback variance for the proposed house, but and also a coverage variance. But by making an adjustment to the proposed house and by the re-subdivision, we eliminated that one side setback variance, and we eliminated the coverage variance. So
with your lot line adjustment, that made a couple of variances go away in terms of lot coverage and, okay,
yes.
and so in sequence, the lot coverage would have to occur and be filed before the signing of any plans regarding this application. So, just want to make sure that's clear. I think that's a condition that Lance has in the resolution.
Yes.
That's one issue. Tell us a little bit about the drainage course that runs on the north side, next to your neighbor's property, and it's very close to the new structure. I think in testimony previously, you had said something about contacting the DEC and you were working with them. What do you intend to do with that?
But yeah, at this time, as far as this application goes, we're not proposing. There are some existing retaining walls that are to remain. Mr. Futterman has been working with the DEC separate from this contract for some time to get approval to do some retaining wall improvements. That all of that falls on the adjoining neighbor's property. So I'm not really familiar with that, but he and a consultant have been working, trying to obtain those permits. But as part of this site plan, we're not proposing to get into any of the property that's under the jurisdiction of the DEC.
I know it's a concern of the ECB. They spent a lot of time talking about it, but on the other regard, I think they felt that it didn't look like the existing conditions had caused any damage to the house that's being demolished. So it wasn't like there was a flooding issue there with the existing house, or that drainage area had any reason or any influence on the condition of the home, the house that's being demolished.
That's the case. I think the most impact when there's a heavy rainstorm, probably similar to what we're having out there right now, a lot of that flooding occurs out closer to the shoreline.
How's the first floor elevation of the new house compared to the existing? Is it higher?
Just slightly higher, yes.
Yeah.
Well above any flood elevation.
Did we see any elevations of the home itself?
Yes, they were, Jack Segrest is also online with us, and Jack, we did submit the elevations as part of this application.
Very similar to. the-
I didn't remember seeing them on
I
there.
didn't see him.
Oh,
All right, let's get into the shoreline guidelines.
I think that's-
Yeah, this is Ryan Stachak. I just got a couple clarifying questions. So right now, the purchase of the lot 2 was to the north, right? So that took, just to kind of piggyback off of what Chuck was asking, I'd like to know, what are the ZBA findings from the last meeting that were discussed and voted on for this application in front of us? Like, what was the context of those ZBA votes?
Or the two.
Yeah, like what exactly were they for? The variances for this?
Yeah, the plan you have in front of you, the variances were for the side setback for the garage, which you see the 1-car garage that sits back in the, would be the west side of this lot.
Right, it's on the west side to
in the back or whatever.
Yeah, and the variances for it would be the north corner of the garage off of the property line.
the north corner of the garage.
Yes.
Yeah, is that the one that's to the?
Kind of dead center right now, I think, right?
This, yeah, I can't point, but
Hold
it's,
up, hold up one more.
It's to the right.
It's.
That right there, right? That garage, right?
no,
I think it's to
you're,
the north.
Bottom right corner there.
yeah, you're over, right, see the new house?
Right, that's what I thought. It's a
That's
shed
the-
though. It's called a
well,
shed on the plan.
It's a drive, it is a garage now.
Okay,
But
so that's the variance. That was one of the variances.
Yes, and the other variance,
Your property, it's right here. That's it. This is it, right here.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
That's what I thought it
Yeah,
was.
sorry
Yeah.
about that.
But why is it, so the plans are a little confusing to read a little bit.
No, hold on, no, it's that one. That's the garage I already have. This is, I'm Eli Footerman, by the way.
Well, you are, you're the
Yes,
owner.
I'm the
Okay,
owner.
great.
Let the record.
They
show.
both said that they were coming, just so you know. So I
Yeah.
figured I would show up.
No, that's cool. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's the first one is the shed, because that's near the new property line, right?
Move this over. This is the house that we're building. This is my house right now.
Right.
Right, so you gotta move.
If you push your hand on it and pull
Oh,
it.
I can,
It's a smart
oh,
one.
you guys are
There you go.
way, I have to know my taxes.
So then that's the variance 1 where the shed is.
Right.
Just to encroach onto that side setback.
Correct.
Then the second variance was for what?
the rear setback of the new house, it's shown on this plan at 28.58 feet, at where the required setback is 30 feet. And
From the mean high water mark.
right, from the mean high water. And that was the same setback that the existing house had.
Right, so my question is then, the new house is gonna take up the exact same footprint, is that correct?
Well, it's going to take up more than the same footprint. It's larger footprint than the existing house, but basically in the same location.
Hi, this is Jack Segrist.
The plan you're looking at, the plan you're looking at is the existing house plan. I don't know if you can bring up, this is,
Just roll down.
yeah, okay.
There
There you go. Keep going.
All right.
Go
There,
on.
there you go. So now you're looking at the new garage
Other way.
Other way.
and the new house.
No, no.
Get rid of him.
Yeah, go ahead.
There we go. So this is the new house,
Yes,
yes. Which is moved farther south
South.
than where we are currently. Like you can, the existing house, you can touch the neighbor's house. There's no reason to say hello. Literally, we could shake hands from the existing house right now. So we're moving it, I believe, Jack, 10 feet south.
We're to the setback 10 feet to the south.
So I'm sorry, but that's where I'm. So, but that's the new, that's gonna be the new proposed two-story where there's not one there now.
There's a
There is.
two-story there.
that, right,
That's-
that's.
that's the
there.
picture.
This is the house that's coming down.
That's going.
But what about so there's gonna be two houses on one lot?
No,
No, these are two lots.
I know, okay, I thought I understood, now I'm confused.
Yeah.
So you purchased another lot,
Right,
to the north,
That's the
was there a
north one.
house on that lot?
that's the
That's
house
this
that's
one.
right
That's
there.
this one,
Right
gotcha,
here.
That's coming down.
this is gonna come down,
Yeah, let's,
this is gonna come down. The one that doesn't have the septic, that's on regular, the steep slopes,
Right here,
Yep.
that one.
and that's just to the east of that little shed,
Well,
right?
yes,
get the orientation so that the right side of the screen is north
right.
Yep,
and left.
so we
and
were
left,
just
right?
talking about the house that was,
This is my house that
That's
I
the
own.
house
that's
on
the
the
owner
south.
right now,
That's
right?
the one I own.
You
This is
bought
the
the
one I
lot on the
bought.
you
top.
bought that one.
Yep.
So
Right.
we're not gonna make those, you're not gonna combine those
Not
two
combining
lots.
them, putting them on separate lots so that I.
That's why we have an internal lot line adjustment.
There's a lot line adjustment, right?
Yeah, you can see it there, here.
Right there,
Okay.
that's that line.
Yeah.
Gets building coverage.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
right here, that's.
Yeah,
right
there's
there.
a-
So,
your septic's
but
up
the
here.
ZBA is only dealing with lot 2 of the
Right.
shed and then the setback. Or what was the
Their
second
mean
ZBA?
high water
there.
setback here.
Yes,
There.
This is.
that's what was confusing me. I thought it was
existing.
on
Yeah,
lot
I thought-
1 and I was like, that,
Yeah, here, this is pre-existing non-conforming.
okay.
This is
But they're moving it.
shifted, I think it's 4 feet, a 4-foot variance, 4 point something.
But the
There's only one,
ZBA,
there's only one lot here, right?
yes,
Because because we're
Right.
separate lots. We kept them
The separate
Yeah,
lots.
okay.
the lot line adjustment was to
Right.
give you more coverage on the
Right.
the one down there. Now you got this extra lot. The
Right.
ZBA said, hey, that's okay, stay there. You can continue with non-conforming setbacks. The ZBA said that. Right, they voted and said yes.
Well, they didn't vote on the 10-foot because it was pre-existing non-conforming. They
It was,
voted on-
that's my point, is that
Right.
they decided it was pre-existing non-conforming,
Leave it
right?
alone.
We don't decide that.
Well,
So we don't,
Chris would decide that. Chris decided it with his determination.
Chris Jensen,
Right, that it was pre-existing non-conforming side setback,
yeah,
but the mean high water rear setback
yep,
was with 4.7.
okay,
Yeah, something.
okay,
Okay,
yep, thank you.
all right, board members, any more board members?
One question I saw in
Sure.
the ECB comments around engaging the Historical Society on the house and the potential movement of the existing house. Is there anything more to add there, or is that still kind
No.
of plan, or?
I'm
Any
happy to
additional
do it
layers?
if the town wants it. It's-
I can give more
Sure, yeah.
information on that. So Leaf, our town historian, is taking the lead on that.
Okay.
And proposed that, because Mr. Futterman would give us the house,
Mm-hmm.
if we can move it. How would we do
Move it,
that
move
is questionable, and
Yeah.
Leaf and I met with a gentleman on site, I think Thursday.
You gotta tell me to turn off the lights when it leaves.
And he moves, and I wish I can't remember his name right now, but he
Todd,
moves.
isn't it Todd? He owns the barge, right?
He doesn't own a barge. There's we had 2 companies come out, the one
Okay.
that I was there with, he's moved multiple houses,
Yes.
Jersey Country Village, that kind of thing.
Okay.
So, he proposed to bring a barge, cut the house in half like a bagel. Bring a crane down Mr. Futterman's driveway, which he thinks he could do, even with the power lines being so low. Take the top half of the house off, put the bottom on the barge. And I don't know if I would think you move the bottom and then the top and then over
Right.
someone onto,
And then-
and making it sound really simple.
And who's gonna pay for that?
Well, that's the question. So we don't know how much it would cost. We're still exploring that, and I don't believe that Lee's got an estimate of the cost to move, replace, or, place it, that kind of thing.
Is it a state historical structure?
It is not, there's only
No.
one in the town. That is not one of them.
We've never had a conversation like this ever, ever.
Not that I know.
It's usually how it's approved.
Right.
Right, that's what I'm saying, like.
And I don't, and I think
Just so
it
you know,
should,
the
I don't
way that-
necessarily,
The way that it
where the house
happened
goes is should bear anything on whether we approve this. or
No,
not.
I'm
Right,
just giving
I
it to
just-
the-
Has nothing
Yeah,
to do with it.
no,
I-
just-
I'm
yeah.
not saying it
And
shouldn't
making
have
sure
been
that the applicant is,
Yep.
on
I'm
board
not
with all
against it as
this
an
as well.
applicant, but I don't think it has any bearing on this, just so you know.
Yeah,
Right.
I mean, I
that's the
think
it's-
history of that.
I guess there are very
Yes.
few original cottages left, and they're trying to preserve it. That's
Right.
the bottom line. I mean,
Yes.
It would
and
be
what
an
makes it
example.
attractive is it has zero plumbing. It has zero plumbing.
There's no septic.
There's nothing.
Somebody lived there for full time for a lot of years, and I don't want to know
Yeah.
where or how, just so you know.
Crazy, mad.
I think there was a
don't know.
septic, but I don't think it was a working septic.
Yeah, they called it the lake, anyway. Crazy.
He's still alive, the guy that.
Sophie's jumped the lake. Yeah, the only thing we've really gotten into on houses such as this is going and taking pictures. If there's any
Artifacts, yeah,
Yeah.
that
artifacts.
somebody
is,
finds, and I'm sure
Yeah. it's
Lee
fine.
will do that, and let them come in if he hasn't done so already. And that's
What's the
about as far as
combination?
we get. The only other thing we say is, when you tear it down, contact Habitat Restore.
Habitat, yeah,
That sometimes they like the,
cabinets,
The frames.
doors.
yeah.
There's
Cabinets,
nothing
there's
in
no
there.
cabinets.
There's nothing in there.
Okay.
It is bare bones.
So what the heck do we want?
And the guy lived there until he was 74 years old.
Did he live there in the winter?
He moved down, he was a professor at South Carolina Law School, and he would leave like September, or August 15th. But when he retired, he lived there until it got cold in November. And he used to tell me he'd move his bed based on where the sun would shine. I always thought I would come out one day and just find him on the driveway.
Wow.
Well, history's interesting, but let's look
Yes, I
forward.
agree.
Yep.
Yes.
Right.
So as far as this application, getting back to shoreline guidelines, oh, Noreen, did you want to speak? You were waving your hand.
Yes.
And you,
I'm the neighbor to the north, the 4 foot from the creek of the existing Pennsylvania Dutch classic home. And I'm very pleased to see this plan. Originally, there was a shed to be built on the far east point, right on the watershed of the creek, which, oh my goodness, it's flown like crazy today. It would be lovely if it didn't have to be demolished. It's a beautiful structure. But I have no major concerns except that the watershed in extreme situations like we're having now, it's about 4 or 5 times a year, not be disturbed. And I see that there are a couple retaining walls on the property that, and where they're located would absolutely not affect any flow of the creek that we share. So I'm really pleased to see these plans, and I hope everything goes through well with the new build.
thank you.
I have nothing negative to say about it.
Noreen brings up a point, Greg, in terms of stormwater management.
Yes.
Any type of rain gardens or anything that you're providing that will actually improve the drainage?
Yeah, we're proposing, well, let me say, a couple years ago, when we put the addition on the Futterman's new house, or their original house, we put in some storm chambers out in front, pick up the roof leaders. And I believe they've been functioning well. We're doing the same thing here off the southeast corner of the house. You see, looks like a grid we would be putting in their plastic storm chambers, low profile, and tie the gutters into them. It provides some storage and slow release in some of the moderate storm conditions. So that was our intent. Plus, with we actually are reducing the impervious area on this totally on the site with the removal of that paved pull-off up where the septic system is going. So the net impervious on the site is being slightly reduced on both lots. And then we're providing this some mitigation.
Lance, that probably is the cue to you as far as anything that the applicant has to do regarding SWIPs and drainage requirements, permits.
So we, MRB Group did provide a comment letter based on a review of the application. I think some of the big ticket items that we were just looking for some clarity on some stuff. I think some of that clarity was provided tonight during dialogue. 2 points that I want to make is one, obviously, we don't want to see any disturbance to that stream. Neither does the town. They're not proposing any disturbance to that stream. I just asked that during construction, and one of the comments in our letter was just to provide some kind of a safety fence, whether it be construction fence or something to delineate the boundary so that we don't encroach too far into the better banks of that stream, because as you know, if you do, then we'll be obligated to contact DEC and go that process. So I think just a notation be added to the plans that delineate that there's going to be some kind of a fence line provided along the perimeter, just to make sure that we don't get too far or stockpile materials too far into that area. As for the stormwater,
Letter, or is it something we should?
that's reflected in my letter. That I believe is comment number 21.
Could I could mention, we did receive MRB's comments, and we also received the comments from Jim Fletcher regarding the water services. We've reviewed all those, and we will address them and comply. We didn't see any issues with any of those comments.
Yeah, I don't think any of them are particularly big ticket items, but just more for clarity. I apologize. I'm going between the screen and you guys. I do apologize for that, but the outdoor.
Hold on, I got, before you leave that, the delineation, can we just ask Mr. Federman, are you okay putting in orange, that fencing, that would be like snow fence, the caution fence to delineate that area?
Ryan, that's typically construction fence is what I've seen, and that has a color to it. And that typically is, that's what I asked for in my comment letter.
But I want to make clear that can we just require that, Lance?
Sure.
Are you okay with that?
Yeah, I mean, we want to do this project, so.
Great.
I mean,
That's cool. Make that clear, Lance?
Yeah, so we can either add that as a condition as we get to that point tonight. That
Yes.
the fence is to be fried. Okay, fair enough. As for stormwater, yeah, they provided a very similar system on the previous Futterman application before us. This one is sized to handle that. We did ask for some calculations to be provided just to support that sizing. And then the one question I have, Greg, was your outdoor shower. Obviously, that needs to be connected to the septic, but it doesn't show the connection. So I didn't know if that was going to be a problem on the side that it's located, or does it have to be relocated to the other side of the house to accommodate that? How is that going to work?
Well, we had indicated that it was to be connected. The plumbing is going to be under slab for the first floor of the house, and there's no reason they can't come out there with a floor drain. We're going to a treatment unit, or a pump unit. I've shown it for purposes of this plan at the southeast corner of the house, and that'll be pumping up to a treatment unit and the leach field.
Fine, that's perfect. I appreciate that. Thank you. No, otherwise, I think we're good on our end, or unless the board has additional questions for MRB.
Does that fence have to be orange? Because I think that might be offensive to Tori.
Very offensive.
More than an outdoor shower?
No, the outdoor. The only thing I can.
Yeah, the orange fence is just temporary until construction's completed.
Okay, I just don't want it to be offensive to her.
Noreen, you okay with us protecting the stream a little bit?
I just completed my property 2.5 years ago, so I had a black plastic fence up for 3 years. Well, I redid my property because it rotted out from the water, from improper drainage coming down the property. There's a lot of elevation above both of our properties. So we know where the lot lines are, but those fences are put up during construction to protect the lake and the waterways from construction materials. So, you know, I obliged them and built a little stairway over it so I could get to my beach while I was on construction. So it doesn't need to be orange. Eli and I are very clear about where the property lines are. It's the creek. Couple feet in on the creek is my property, but it's really just watershed, so it's not an issue. I think the fence needs to be placed up, whatever's required for construction purposes.
Okay.
Yeah, if I may,
Same thing I complied with.
yeah,
Okay,
if I just want to make sure there's some clarity here. Two things. One, silt fence and erosion control items, obviously, as per DEC and the town's requirements, that information is shown on the plans that will be provided as required. The fence that I believe we're talking about is just simply a delineation that the stream is located in close proximity, and we want to make sure that there's no accidental, equipment storage or disturbance to that area that's not protected. So the construction fencing is really just a visual protection to keep things from going too far into that area.
It's a limits of disturbance. Don't go to the fence, don't go beyond the fence.
and it's temporary.
Yeah.
Okay,
Fine.
let's talk shoreline guidelines, folks. You're going to take one tree down, I think you stated, and you have no intentions of putting any landscaping in front of this new structure. I think you're going to have to do a little something more than that.
Oh, there'll be landscaping, but we haven't gotten that far yet. I mean, we landscaped the other house, we'll
Well,
landscape this one.
It's this board's requirement to make
We
sure
need to
that
make sure it's
the
there.
view from the lake is in compliance with our shoreline guidelines. So we want to show on the plan at least some delineation as to shrubbery that would be, I see on the plan view, you're showing some shrubs. I think we're just trying to break up the look of that face, that eastern facing wall. And can that be done?
Yes, we can designate areas on the site plan for, I'll work with Eli and Jack to add landscaping to the site plan or specify areas where landscaping will be installed.
Okay, we both myself and Lance will look carefully for those when the plans come in for signature, as will Shauna. So make sure you provide those. Lance, make sure that's a condition in the resolution that shrubbery be provided along the lake frontage.
To the satisfaction of the chairperson
Yes.
Chairperson, engineer, and planner.
and town planner.
Okay, anything else on shoreline guidelines?
No, I agree.
This will be sort of a cedar shape facade.
You gotta ask that. You have to ask my wife. Oh, you have to ask Jack.
That's Jack's purview.
Yeah, that's
Jack,
Jack's
what do you
purview.
got, what do you got in mind for the facade of the building, the house?
We'll have a stone base halfway up the first floor with cedar shingles and asphalt shingles. One of the better quality roofs, not the 15-year, but more like the 30-year. It'll be 25 feet high per code. It's going to be in a style that I'm calling cottage look. I'm surprised if we had some elevations, we could see what it was going to look like. But it's supposed to kind of go along with the house that it's leaving. And it's supposed to kind of reflect that look.
You did a nice job, Jack, on the architectural plans. Very good.
He's amazing.
So we just want to make sure you're not putting a White House up.
I mean, my house.
We've got one in
there is white.
Washington. that's
I
all.
know yours. is
My
right.
wife, the house I built is white already. I love it with a red roof.
How'd that get white?
Do you have asphalt shingles?
Yes.
Yeah. I think so.
Yes.
Yeah.
The downspouts are going into that chamber, so there won't be some settling process there as far as any asphalt or grit. Okay, I'm just about done. Sure, we're all just about done. Relation to the house, we talked about Jim Fletcher's issues with the
Yep.
H2O. Your driveway is currently stone?
No,
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 it's pavement.
Paper.
Okay. Well, somewhere on there, maybe it was mentioned in there. So it's gonna be all paved?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm good. Anybody else from the board? Anybody else from virtual land?
Got my comments done.
Okay, I will then let's put the resolutions up. Why is it- Hold that to be disturbed.
Share my screen for the resolutions.
Yeah, if we can see the resolutions, I don't have a copy of
Yeah,
that.
that's the one I didn't print, Lance.
Oh, okay, my fault. I apologize. Hold on one second.
Pull your folder.
Yeah, no.
You offered to share screen. I think I can pull it up.
You can click on
All of a sudden, poof.
Lance?
Lance.
Okay.
and
The double dots.
Yeah,
and
the little
triple
dots.
Just make them,
Enable,
Make 'em
you can make them co-host, that's fine. Yep,
Yeah, we trust him.
we know.
Maybe I just got to figure out how to get to my screen.
What, no.
Siri.
Siri.
Sassy today.
My mortgage payment.
All right, this is while we're pulling up, the seeker is not a big issue, so I will make a motion that we consider this a type 2 action under seeker, and therefore no further deliberations regarding seeker are required by this board. And so moved.
Second, Gary.
Okay, motion by me, second by Gary. Any questions on the seeker? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm sorry, who-
And we can
who
now
was
move
first?
on to the site plan.
Chuck was first, I was second.
Chuck, all right, I just write it down.
One last question.
Sure.
Lance, can you tell us why there was a difference in the square footage differences with the lots? Like
I
one
think
lot
that's-
was losing X amount of square feet, the other one was gaining.
It's associated with the lot line
Lot line.
adjustment. I just wanted to make sure that it was correct. I think there was an error in the acreage that was shown on the plans.
We've reviewed that and that note, or that'll be revised when the Mylars are for that lot line adjustment are submitted.
Okay,
Satisfied with that, Lance?
I am satisfied with that.
And it didn't affect the lot coverage.
No,
Correct.
we
Okay, the lot
meet
coverage
on
is
both,
curious.
on both lots, we will meet the lot coverage.
Okay, very good. All right, we're moving on to single stage site plan approval. Is that the revision date, 19?
Can you see it? Is it up?
Yes.
All right.
September 15th is the revision we're looking at. Someone want to make a motion?
I'll move it.
We do have an opening.
We do, you need to say that at every meeting.
That's true.
I'll scroll down so we can see the CPN number.
Somebody.
I will make a motion for the single stage site plan approval for CPN 21073 at 4799 County Road 16 with, I believe, 7 conditions with a new one that we just brought up today. And Lance, if you're controlling, can you
Yep.
scroll down to show them just to make sure I'm right?
So there was 6 before and I added 2.
Add
No,
2,
that's it,
okay,
right?
so a total of 8.
No, yes, correct. Total of 8. I'm sorry, my math was off. The 2 that I added, just for making sure I'm correct, was the site plans that will be revised to identify temporary construction safety fencing to be provided along the limits of disturbance boundary between the project area and the stream location. This is to remain during construction and it knows to be added to the plans. I think that covers us, Ryan, with our concern with delineating that area to make sure that it's protected during construction.
I'll second that motion.
Well, I didn't tell you what the last one was.
One more.
Not done yet.
One more.
At least
The
one.
last one, and I put the site plan to be revised to provide additional landscaping along the lakeside of the property as discussed at the October 26, 2021 planning board meeting to the satisfaction of the planning board chair and staff prior to signatures being affixed to the plans. Did I capture that okay, or do I need to revise that?
Yep.
That was fine.
Okay. Lance,
Now
did
you
we
can make
cover,
your-
Lance, did we cover the ZBA variances on the plan?
So the variances are listed on the site plan as to being accepted and approved June 1st, 2021. I did add a whereas, thank you, I forgot to mention. I did add a whereas to the resolutions that will be
Oh.
provided to you.
Okay.
Great.
Got Bobby. All right, I have a motion from Amanda, seconded by Ryan. Any further discussion on the motion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
Okay.
So I'm
Good luck.
Yep.
Thank you. A member of the town, taxpayer, I think it's great that you take this much time. I know it's a pain in the neck to the people who are building, but I do appreciate as an owner of the cottage that you do take the time.
Well, tell us, tell our boss.
That's right.
I appreciate that.
And make sure that they all know that I showed up, but they didn't show up.
Oh!
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Be safe.
Just gonna vote often.
All righty, moving on.
Yeah, that's nice.
That application CPN 21074, report engineering representing Frontenac, owner of property at 2121 State Route 332, and they are seeking a single state site plan approval for the construction of approximately 10,210 square feet of new asphalt for boat display purposes. Applicant is also asking for a waiver to reduce the front landscape buffer width from 20 feet to 10 feet. And Glenn Thornton is representing the applicant. And Glenn, you know.
Good evening. Bernie DeGraw, the applicant, is also online here. If we have any questions that I can't address. It's a pretty simple project. The FLX Marine Boat Sales Facility. If you've driven by it through the summer, you probably haven't seen many boats up there. And why are we proposing additional boat display areas? Well, COVID has a lot to do with it. They have put in their order for all their new boats already for next year. And I think, Bernie, if I'm correct, it was about 120 boats you've ordered. And we're not sure when they're going to come in, but so there may be a massive influx of boats. We need a place to put them. But typically throughout the year, they're hoping to display 30 boats, something like that. Nothing like this past year where there were 2 or 3 out there just because they didn't have access to more boats. So the display area is definitely needed. I know the applicant would love to get started this year to get some stone down at least because the boats are probably going to start arriving early next year. But as you can see on the plan, we have an existing, I think it's a 2,400 square foot boat sales building, set back quite a ways from the street and from the right of way line. We're proposing, and the display area is up front, close to the right of way, 10-foot setback to the display area. Whereas Chris determined 20 feet was required by code, but that's an existing condition. The new display area, we're going to increase the display area on the north side of the parking lot for a few boats, and then the larger one, which will bring the total additional pavement up over 10,000 square feet, is on the south side of the driveway and south of the existing display area, where we hope to be able to provide space for 20 to 40 boats in that area. Again, the setback from the front property line will be 10 feet. The prior approvals, site approvals back in 2018, I think it was, required some landscaping up front between the boat display area and the right of way. That was recently installed. the previously approved project
When was that installed?
Very recent.
very recently. In fact, we have pictures. I don't know if you have those.
Did you send them to Michelle?
Yeah, a couple pictures. One of the landscaping that was placed. I think it looks very nice. They did a nice job with it. They actually planted a lot more boxwoods than I thought they would need because they will grow, but I think they planted, I would guesstimate 40 boxwoods
Wow.
in that area. I know it's a lot of boxwoods, but it looks very nice. And
Yeah, I didn't see a picture.
I don't see.
No, they're not in the site.
I have the pictures if you wanted me to share the screen. I have at least the one picture that was forwarded to me.
Oh,
sure.
Oh, you know what? You're gonna have to give me a second to get it to that page. I apologize. Keep talking and I'll show it.
All right, continuing on, now, we did receive review comments from MRB Group last week, and I applaud Lance because we got those comments, I think, at least a week before the meeting. I'm just not used to that. Usually, a lot of times, we get it the day of the meeting.
Don't spoil them.
Yeah, we had enough time to address the comments, resubmit revised plans, responses to the review comments, which I'm sure Lance hasn't had enough time to go through yet, but we believe what we presented last week on the 22nd, but have addressed all comments received to date. Basically, it's a large paved area, sloped away from the road. We'll capture all the water in a drainage swale on the east side of the pavement area. And we'll route that down into a rather large rain garden, which has been sized to satisfy all of the town criteria for stormwater management.
Was that on the plan?
It is.
You had a rain garden on the original.
We did, but this is a bigger one now.
Okay.
We
It was
increased the
400
size.
square feet.
Yeah, we're up
The
to
ones
600 square feet now.
that
with a
we
little
had are
bit
from
additional
September 8th.
content
Yeah,
there.
it's there.
It wasn't, I don't think it was on the original application, but then we went through the PRC, revised the plans,
Yeah.
and then we revised them again after receiving MRB's comments.
well, I'm not sure, since MRB comments, have we seen those new plans?
I don't think I've seen the right plans.
I'm not sure we saw those plans.
I saw
Yeah,
a
but-
site plan.
MRB, yeah, you did, because the
Okay.
MRB comments were based on the September 17th plan. Right,
Yeah,
Lance?
the original plans that we saw, I didn't see the rain garden on there either, but we did get calculations. The revised plans show a very large rain garden in the back and show the discharge from the parking lot going that direction. So that information has been provided on the revised plans that I am aware of.
Okay.
Can you guys see I don't mean to go backwards, I apologize, but I am displaying.
Oh, yeah, all right. Hmm.
That's around the sign and then the full extent to the north of that display area. It's a nice sign too, isn't it? Isn't it a nice sign?
Yeah.
That is nice.
Shame you can't get it closer to the road, but that's state highway.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think in deliberations on the original application, we had requested landscaping that would sort of, at some point, block the view of the trailers. We realize you're trying to sell boats, so we didn't want to block the boats, but we at least wanted to somehow buffer the bottom of the trailer itself. And that's why we came up with a shrub concept in Cookville
Now,
2 weeks ago. I think we did it.
I don't mean to be a complainer, but I don't know if I would ever have approved that. That looks nice, but was there supposed to be something like a hard edge and like some diversity? I don't know what we talked about the species.
Grasses.
And there was like a landscaping plan that we approved. That quite honestly, never was done. You know, that was a little bit frustrating, you know what I mean? Like, and the applicant should hear that, like, we spend a lot of time talking about landscaping and then the project doesn't get landscaped for 2 years. It's kind of like, well, do they care about what we said and what we're trying to do? So I just want to make that clear for the applicant to hear, because it has an impact on if we're gonna, you know what I mean, like, catch on laying down. So, I mean,
We
so.
gotta kick at the can, here we are.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess I'd like that landscaping, that rubber edge. I guess I'd like a more well-defined hardened edge around the landscaping where it looks nice. I remember when the applicant was here talking about this concept here that we talked about, a nice high-end boats being sold, very high-end, that were unique in the town. And that when they would pull up, it would be attractive landscaping with a hardened edge. And I don't know exactly what the landscape plan was, but I would like to see something, see that rubber edge around the edge?
Yeah.
It just kind of looks like it was thrown together. And the one species is a little, it's kind of monotonous, it's kind of monotonous, I guess. Plain. So from the road there, like Chuck was saying, we were hoping to get something that was gonna be still attractive, hiding the trailers from the edge there. And so I guess I'm looking for, I don't know, what are we looking for to do on this next plan? I didn't see too much landscaping, except I saw a request to reduce the size of it from 20 feet to 10 feet.
The width of
With 10 feet, we're proposing something very similar with the boxwoods.
Okay.
But I mean, if the board doesn't like boxwoods, I mean, these were recently planted, the roots haven't taken hold yet. It would be easy to swap out some of these boxwoods with some other type of plant. Use those boxwoods over in the new area.
Yeah, I guess, I wonder what the landscaping plan was that we approved. I guess that would just be nice to have that.
I don't have it with me, but as I recall, we spec'd out a lot of, low cost, perennials, probably some, something like that, something more.
Shrubs.
Grasses.
Yeah, grasses.
Remember the grasses?
Some grasses would be nice, ornamental grasses. Vaguely.
I remember hearing.
I don't remember the details.
Well, let's go
Remember
back to what,
discussions.
Were you with us then?
No,
what
but
was
I remember you guys
talking
talking about it.
possibility of pulling some, maybe every
Retrospect.
other boxwood and putting some other species in there, and then,
Mix it up a little bit.
and sort of doing a mirror image on the other side, getting some of the boxwood and pool, and supplementing that with another species. Because we are granting a waiver to the 20-foot landscaping, so I think
Are we?
we do have prerogative here in terms of what we
Not sure
want to
either.
see in terms of landscaping, so.
Well, can we talk about that buffer? Why do we need, why does he need to reduce, why do you need to reduce the buffer from 20 feet to 10 feet?
The land kind of falls away from the right of way. It's about eight or 9 feet from the street up to the right of way line. It's a big cut slope when the state built 332 there. So it's very difficult to see anything up on the lot. So it falls away. So we're trying to get the boat display as close to the peak as possible, so the boats are more visible.
I guess I'm not,
Well, the other thing I think is the setback from the road, it's so far back because the right of way is.
Enormous.
Yeah, you have it there,
30,
you have it there.
35, 40 feet, something like that. in that area. I think we felt that, if it was close to the road, we would have been discouraged from waiving it, but because it was so far up the hill and off the road.
I think it's around 120 feet from the pavement.
Oh, it's a long way back. That's why I said your sign is there.
Well, I mean,
I guess my whole, when I looked at this, my first impression was that's just a huge, big parking lot that I don't think is needed. I mean, that was my first impression. And I recall when we talked about this, that we had the original plan, that we had a discussion about, is there gonna be boats out there for view and things like that? Is it gonna be a big glass in the front so they can see through it with boats? And the response back was, no, we don't think we need that. We don't need that. And so now kind of what I'm hearing from what you said, you do need it, but it's not, it's for a different reason. It's because all of a sudden we're gonna have 100 boats coming in, and what are we gonna do with them? So it's like, oh, we might as well display them. But what's gonna happen 2 years from now? You're gonna get boats when you need them on time, rather than in this COVID period. And you're not gonna have 100 boats to display, or 30 or whatever it is. And it's just gonna be a big parking lot. So I don't think it's very appealing at all. for this, for this area, and I'm just, it's just a huge, big impervious parking lot that I don't think blends in with the character and what we're trying to do in that area. That's kind of my thoughts.
Edward, I'll call on you. I see your hand is up. You'll have to unmute yourself. You want to tell us a little bit about your thinking? Larry. Oh, Sam. Edward, you gotta unmute yourself if you want to talk. We'd like to hear a response on your business needs out there.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm Bernard. I didn't know you were referring to Edward.
Oh, I thought Edward was the owner. It's Bernard?
Bernie DeGraw, yeah.
Oh, Bernie, I apologize.
Sorry about that. Well, the being a parking lot, it's kind of interesting because of that slope and the setback. I'm not sure anybody can see the parking lot for the most part anyway, regrettably. So it doesn't necessarily appear to be a big parking lot from the road. But I mean, we have the marina in Union Springs, and we have the location in Canandaigua, and we'll probably be expanding elsewhere as well. But we order 100 to 130 boats. We've been doing that. We're, but we've been selling them from Union Springs. We now have an opportunity to add to that, to have boats on display. Once COVID is ridded of the world, I guess, gotten rid of that, we'll have boats to display. And right now we've actually added another line to our for manufacturers. So we'll have additional boats, a very different model to display as well. I mean, I don't know what to say about having an empty parking lot. Probably 2 miles south of us, there's a Cadillac dealer, I think, that has essentially a half empty parking lot at the moment. We're all in that situation, whether it's cars or boats. And, but we are big enough. We're the biggest Crest dealer in the Northeast. We're the biggest Alumacraft dealer in the Northeast. We're top 10 in the nation with Monterey. And now we've added Taiga and ATX surf boats. We will have boats to put there. And I mean, we currently do that number of boats from Union Springs alone. Rochester is a bigger market than the Syracuse market, which your Union Springs location is in. So I don't think there's any reason to think we won't have boats as long as COVID isn't a curse, stopping almost everybody that sells boats from having them.
The other thing along these lines too, and I'm not sure this is technically in the uptown area, but it's pretty darn close to uptown if it's not in it. And this is not the type of look and parking lot with the boats in front. That's not the uptown guidelines that we're trying to create for this area, and might not be technically an uptown. Might be just north of where that line is. I don't know.
In the uptown, but it is a gateway park.
But it's a gateway. It's right there.
And we had
And I
these
don't-
discussions.
Yes, we did.
We absolutely
Had
had
this.
this.
It's first time.
I would just like
So-
to say that's amazing. The sales are fantastic, which speaks
Sure.
volumes then that you're not selling them from the road, right? They're special order, they're,
Yeah.
they're.
They haven't needed to
Right,
have a
so
display.
why the need then to decrease the buffer? I mean, it's significant and very important piece in this location, especially with all that asphalt.
We have found that there's a
20 feet from the road, though, up on top of a hill. Look, drive that street. If you can see the asphalt, you're a lot taller.
It's not just seeing it though.
I agree, but we had these conversations not long ago about these exact topics, about the feel and look coming into the town.
Mhm.
In fact, the owner mentioned that, you know, if he couldn't make things work, that this lot wasn't gonna work, and they may not have moved to town, and they were selling boats in other areas. And we talked about specifically, a couple of my issues that I have is that this development was kept very small so that we did not have, and now correct me if I'm wrong, Lance Brabant, but this development did not have met certain thresholds because it disturbed not a significant amount of area where they did not have to do treatment of under the stormwater pollution prevention plan. I could be wrong about that, but we talked about keeping the trees in the back and the look and the feel. And there was even conversation that said that people wouldn't be able to see the pole barn from the road. And certainly we could see those things. So, I mean, this was.
I would clarify, at the time that we did not know that the DOT would allow us to take that front bank down that's in front of the existing display area. It was considerably higher, and Greg Trost, they hadn't given us any opportunity to do that. We put in a berm of mulch. We prepared all of that. And a while after we were, in a sense, almost complete, we met with Greg again, and he agreed that the visibility from the road was really hampered by the right of way. And he gave us permission to trim that bank that's in front of the current display area, which did offer a better view of the boats than pre-existed. That right of way creates it's just an extreme setback from the highway. And that did give us an opportunity to change that display a bit, but that's just an aside. I'm not sure what they'll allow to the south of the driveway for that new display area. That isn't something we've broached. And it does fall away differently than it did in front of the current display area.
I guess my point is that if we would have looked at this project as it's presented right now as in totality, I think I would have issues with the way that this project would be presented, specifically with so much. I'm hearing display area, but I'm also hearing storage. Like I heard that term a couple times already, and it looks like it's going to be. It seems that it's going to be a storage area compared to a display area.
Well, we can't. My understanding was we can only display our boats that are for sale. We can't store boats at this location.
Oh, but
And that's new boats.
storing boats that he wants to sell.
No used boats. If you remember, Chris Jensen said it's only new boats for sale, no service.
No service.
Right, there's no service here.
Right.
We talked about what.
No,
Right.
it's a showroom building.
Right.
And because I remember we were talking about the small feel of the parking area that was in front. So
Yep.
I was surprised to see this application. I guess, I mean, it just seems, I guess my concerns really would be, number one, the look and feel of it, but also the treatment of stormwater. So Lance, what would be, if we were to see the totality of this project today, would a rain garden be sufficient for infrastructure requirements for quantity and quality of water treatment?
So on commercial projects, when you disturb more than 1 acre in totality, they would be required to do the full stormwater pollution prevention plan as required by DEC, which is mitigation of quantity and quality of the water, as you're alluding. When this project first came to us, I think it was a little over 3 years ago, they were under that 1 acre threshold. I don't recall if any rain gardens or stormwater mitigation was part of that project or not without getting into it. but they were under that threshold that would require that full-on mitigation. With this application, they trigger what is the town's requirement for stormwater mitigation when you add additional parking lot size as proposed with this one. That one does trigger water quality and mitigation form that is being provided by the applicant and shown on the plans that are before you. Now, I think one important factor is that DEC does have a mechanism in place that says after a 3-year period of time that goes by, what we sometimes consider is the larger common plan of development goes kind of out the window. They're no longer required to comply with that requirement. If you have a project that gets approved 1 year, 3 years go by, they come back in with a new project, technically that requirement goes out the door and we look at it as an individual project. There's ways around it. One of those is.
What are those ways around it?
One of the ways that are adding notes to the plans, which is one of the things that we're asking them to do as part of this project. Any additional expansion beyond this that's being proposed today would require full stormwater compliance to the fullest mechanism necessary with any future development. That future development could be one parking space. It could be additional sidewalk, or it could be in addition to the building. Either of those would trigger full compliance with the stormwater requirements that are set forth in the DEC. But those notes have to be added to the plans to do that.
Why wouldn't we require that now?
We are. That's what we're suggesting now. But you mean in terms
As
of
part of this, before that we approve this, as part of this application?
Well, I 100%. You most certainly can make that requirement and ask for that. I'm just telling you that DEC's requirement related to that doesn't. There's that their 3-year window is in effect where we couldn't point to the DEC and say, hey, DEC, let's fulfill this obligation. They would allow on certain situations the 3-year window to surpass, and therefore they wouldn't require them to do that. But Town of Canandaigua is an MS4 agency. Most certainly we can look into that and apply those full extents. But I do want to point that out. That's all. That's what I was just trying to identify.
Okay. For the issues, the landscape buffer, whether that be blacktop or stone or not at all.
Yep.
And I guess the configuration of the plantings, are those the 3 issues that we're wrestling with here, or trying to?
Yeah, I don't know if I characterize it as kind of in conformance with uptown guidelines. Because I mean, he mentioned, down the road, okay, there's a Chrysler dealership with a lot of cars, but we're trying to get rid of that, right? I mean, we're doing everything to get rid of cars and boats and everything like that that's visible and it's just in display. That's what we're trying to get rid of in that area.
In the uptown.
Yeah, but this is, I mean, I think I consider this uptown. It's right there. I mean, all right, it's 100 feet from uptown. I don't know what it is, but it's in that gateway. And I think if we're trying to get rid of that look in uptown, we ought to continue it to this property.
Even put it behind, put this behind the building.
Yeah, well, I don't know.
Down the road and then all of a sudden there's 400 boats.
I don't want to see boats. I don't want to see boats up there.
Yeah.
They have two or three, I think right now you can see. There's 2 or 3, 4, I don't know, something like that.
What
And I
about
think
putting-
that's fine.
What about putting it in the back?
I don't want to see more
The whole
boats.
idea, like, can we just put the display in the back?
But I think the intent is people on the street to see the boats that draw them in.
Yeah, but that's what we don't want. That's what we don't want. We don't want that.
And we
I-
talked about that
yeah.
before too, please.
Yep, we don't want that.
I think that the whole idea of having a storage display area of hundreds of boats that look like a marina that requires so much asphalt is just not
Not
a
for that.
welcoming,
Right.
doesn't welcome people into our community, what we're looking to try to do.
I think in the original application, Glenn, correct me if I'm wrong, that area to the south was talk about maybe putting stone in there and having a sort of overflow or a standby area. if that's what you thought about possibly in the future. I don't know if you were thinking to go so far as to delineate, pave it,
Yeah.
line it. I guess
Well, we were
somehow soften it.
I don't think we were going to delineate anything. The lines shown are just to satisfy a review comment that wanted to see, you know, the storage spaces laid out on paper.
This is what it's CC. No.
It's CC.
It is
It's
CC.
CC?
Yeah,
Well, I mean, at the very least, now we get, I think the CC, you get into parking lots, landscaping in the parking lot.
You do if you
trees,
go that
the
high, yeah.
islands, you have to have
Yep.
an island for every 10 spaces or something like that. Of course, that has to do with cars. So maybe it doesn't even comply with the CC zoning, let alone upgrade to uptown.
And I do think it's appropriate, you know, that being that we are a home rule, that we consider the stormwater pollution prevention. I mean, we require all other developers to do that in
Oh,
with
yeah, I
large
think
projects,
plans
you
pretty
know.
well laid that out.
So I guess if this, if, you know, going forward, I'd like to see that those calculations satisfy the SWIP. You know, a rain garden's nice, but I think that this deserves a little more attention to that. As we require other developers to do, like in the total area. So I guess, I don't know. Right?
I'm in agreement with you all. I was not here for the prior conversations, but I do recall hearing, you know, feedback on those, and I'm in agreement, and based on everything I'm hearing today too. I'm with you guys.
And Glenn, I think what we're saying here is different now than the first time it came in, is this uptown has really gotten traction in terms of the uptown area. Admittedly, this is not in the designated uptown area, but I think, at least, I think what Gary's talking about is the spirit of the uptown would be sort of continued up 332. And Sean, I'd like to have you maybe check it to see its compliance with the CC in terms of you know, parking areas and parking lots.
I think Lance, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it didn't require any buffers inside because of the size. Can you hear me?
You're muted.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you very well, Shauna. What's the question?
The landscaping and buffering internally in the parking lot it's small enough where that wouldn't be a requirement in the CC.
I would have to look that up. I don't,
Yeah.
I know what you're saying and it's possible, but I'd have to look that up to confirm.
Yeah,
I can do that now if we speak, if you want me to.
Well, I can see this heading toward a continuation, but
Yeah.
to the benefit of the applicant, what are we asking him to do? We're gonna look at the compliance with the zoning, but are we asking him to come back with a revised plan that shows what? You don't like this one, what do you want to see?
well, also the 20-foot buffer to 10 is an issue.
Well, it sounds like, you know, I think we're in agreement, we're not gonna grant it.
Yeah, for that.
Yeah.
I think that will
Yes.
help with the field, right? Like we're looking for the field, but I guess my main issues are, you know, the MS4.
Yeah.
So that's my main issue with this, is that we gotta attract, and to be fair to everyone, you know, they need to be objective and fair. I think it's appropriate, MS4, but then also the feel of welcoming into our town. I would just, I don't. And only because I know we had these discussions 3 years ago, and we ad nauseum several times, because we even said, well, Matt, maybe this isn't the best place to build the boat place that you're looking for, you know, like, maybe this isn't the best site.
Yeah,
And so.
and
we
I
had
remember
these-
that comment that, well, we're not gonna display boats, so we don't worry about that.
We're not gonna display them. They're high end, people come in, they buy them. They're gonna be on angles. We're gonna look, and we were like, okay, that's cool. So now we're going from And that's okay, like, we want to see businesses succeed, but I don't know if we want to do it in this fashion. I think we have to be crafty and be mindful of the welcoming area into our town. And, again, I'm looking at this not as display, I'm looking at this as storage.
Right.
As was discussed several times tonight.
So I think if you've got, you got the 3 or 4 boats out there that you can see right now, when you're going by, there are some boats that you can see from display. That draws your people up, and then you've got maybe the side and the back. I'm not sure what the topography looks like back there. I have to go through, but
Yeah.
I'd ask you to go through and look at, and if you want to put storage back in there, where you can display more and have, once the customers are up, oh, well, look at these over here. We got a couple more of this and this and that. That would be fine. And I'd also ask you to go back and review the Uptown guidelines. Uptown, is that what it's called? Uptown guidelines?
Well, mine is very familiar.
Yeah, so go and look at those.
For us to rezone the property or something, we're trying
No,
to
I'm
be
not.
code compliant with what we're proposing. And the one thing, Chris made a determination that a 20-foot buffer was required on the boat display area. I'm not saying I agree with that interpretation, but he's made the interpretation. So we're saying, okay, we need 20 feet. We're proposing 10 feet, a waiver. If 20 feet is required to satisfy code, we can move the parking back to 20 feet. But I mean, this is a boat sales facility. I mean, the way they make their money, they stay profitable, is they have to have boats, they have to display them. Call it boat display, call it boat storage.
I
whatever.
disagree with that.
People want to see boats. They don't come order a boat and say, when's it gonna be delivered? No, they buy a boat that's there. They don't want to wait 8-10 months to get their boat. They need to have boats to display, storage, display, whatever. If they get boats, they need a place to put them. And this is a great place. They had great success at this location. They want to expand. I mean, 3 years ago, they didn't know that this was going to take off. They've done very well here. That's why I brought up that you don't see any boats. That's because if a boat is on display, it gets sold. People want the boat. They want to display more boats so they can sell more boats. And with the COVID, with the pre-orders going in, they don't know when they're going to come. They could get an influx at the beginning of the year. It might be spread out. They don't know. We just didn't want you to say, all right, we're gonna allow you to store, display 20 boats. And then all of a sudden they get shipped and said they need to put 40 boats up there. We want to make sure we have some flexibility. I mean, to display a boat, have somebody buy it, yeah, you gotta be able to walk around the boat, see the boat, get into the boat. They don't want to cram them in. That's not the intent. The intent is to display them in such a manner that people will buy them. And they truly believe that the extended frontage where boats can be seen from the street is a big deal. They definitely want it up there. They would love to have it 10 feet from the property line, but that's
I mean, I understand that.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
I understand that perfectly well. But that's not the look we're trying to, it's not what we're trying to
Personally,
do.
let's
It
just
looks-
make
I
that
think it
clear.
looks nice, though. I mean,
Well,
I mean, the landscaping, okay, people, it's very subjective on the landscaping. I thought the boxwoods looked nice. If you want something else up front there, I'm sure they would swap it out and make it.
but that's a separate, so that, for that issue, I would ask the applicant to please go back to the original plan and follow that. That's number one, right? Like, that's what I think that, whatever that plan is, we're not up here to help design plans. We're just.
Yeah.
And to be clear, it absolutely is a big deal, right? Having 100 boats along Route 332. It's a big deal, totally. But that's not what we discussed, and I don't think that the town wants that type of development entering our town. That's the issue. And we had that discussion 3 years ago, and our concerns were mitigated because there wasn't gonna be boats there. We talked about the color of the pole barn, the way it was gonna be designed, how it was gonna look, have a rural feel coming into the town. And it was a great discussion, and I think it went pretty well. So to see this, such a deviation from the original concept is just something that we gotta work through. Where maybe it's more of an experience for the customer if they could drive in And instead of having that storage up front, or maybe it might take away from the look and feel of the community as you enter it, maybe we could take that area and place it someplace else on the site, on the parcel. It's a pretty large parcel, if I recall, if I remember right. That goes back pretty far. Like there's some land back there that we can make it crafty and get the display area where it might be a cool experience for people to kind of go back. Oh, look at all those boats. Like maybe once they enter, what they feel might be a small look, feel boat area. They may go up and over the hill and say, oh my gosh, let's go look at all of these other boats in the back behind. So it's where it's not maybe up front in people's along 332, it might be a better experience in the back. I don't know, but I know that parcel is pretty large. It goes back pretty far.
It falls, I mean, how far back would you be talking? Right now, we've shown it at 10 feet from the property line. It does fall off.
Behind the building. Like, I don't know, like, I don't know, like, I guess I'm thinking.
I'm glad you guys do, yeah.
You know, like, we kept it that small. It was just under 1 acre, right? So we were not able to get the environmental water quantity and quality protections that we usually have for the right reasons. It was less than 1 acre. My assumption is that if this was the parcel that in its totality, the disturbance is greater than 1 acre. So I think it's appropriate to require the stormwater prevention. But like, I think that the block goes back and it has an angled, there was some pine trees and things back there that we talked about not disturbing the things and you know, I guess those are just my thoughts, like just something to soften the feel of 100 boats. Just as you enter the town, I feel like that's pretty consistent with where we're trying to move the town character in. I don't know if that's I'm trying to be clear about that.
I do, for the board's purview, if you like, I have the code sections referring to landscaping. That might be helpful, maybe they're not. It's up to you guys.
Right now, I don't think so. I think we've got to let them go back with these comments, go back,
I think,
rethink this
I think they have the right
and come back.
intent, but the wrong location of that.
Yeah.
property. And again, as I recall this thing, it was, okay, I thought it was more of a mail order type operation where people come in and they show catalogs and we'll, you know, this is the kind of boat we can order for you and we'll get it delivered and we'll have it here. And this area we had out front was primarily for deliveries and customers that come in and pick up their boats. It wasn't meant to be a lot, a boat lot. I never had that. That's kind of fresh.
Correct. Me too. That's what I remember.
And there was some discussion, if we ever do need some overflow for parking boats, that we could move to the south and we could possibly put some stone down and there would be a stone area. So that would give them future growth, but this idea of having boats on display for people to come in and literally buy it off the lot, I didn't have that impression at all. Really good. I mean,
Okay, I mean, we did on the previous plan, we showed the area up front after meetings, MRB's review, we did show it as boat display area.
right, and that's
What you have today.
It's that
right now.
area, right?
Yeah, that's where you have the boats right
close to the
now.
west. And it was maybe,
Yep.
half a dozen boats, something like that.
If that, yeah.
But again, it was something to
I
To
think
get
we
their
showed
attention.
12 spaces, I
was
believe.
well.
I think, I have to look. at the
They
plans.
sort of, they park it parallel to 332. I think.
Right.
They do now, yeah, and again, those aren't delineated spaces, but we had to identify the number of boats that might be displayed up there at any one time, and I think we selected the law.
Yeah.
Can I make a request of our secretary? Is it possible to ask Mr. Robitaille to just maybe at some point in the next week, just maybe find the notes from
That
this?
was my comment.
If
yeah.
we could find the notes, Mr. Robitaille,
Minutes
from
from that
this,
meeting.
the minutes, the notes from this
Yeah, I was
previous
gonna
one,
ask.
that'd be great, that'd be great.
Yep. Perfect.
Just for some, because I want to be fair, you know what I mean, like, I don't want to,
We'll send them out to you so you can read them.
Okay, I'd like to make it, I'll move to continue this to,
How much time do you think you need to reconsider this?
Well, I'm really not sure what we need to do to make the board happy. I think what I'm hearing is move move the display area to the back, further to the back
Yep.
from the street. I'm not sure if you're trying to move it back so you can't see it from the street. Is that the intent?
That would be my recommendation.
Yes.
Okay. so
That would be
yes.
mine. So we don't, so
If
you
it's
don't
possible,
see it.
move it back so you can't see it from the street. Revise the landscaping that was recently installed in the front to what was previously approved. Because
Yep.
what's been installed is not satisfactory.
I'm willing to be flexible on that. Right, like I'm willing to have flexibility on that. I just don't want to redesign, you know what I mean? Like, I appreciate that the landscaping was put in. But I just want to, you know what I mean, like at least, I mean, is that fair? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't want to say that that's, because boxwood's nice, you know what I mean? Like, it made, the intent of hiding the trailers. Hiding the trailer.
That was
Right.
the intent, year round,
Mhm.
not flowers that don't
Yeah.
field anything.
Yeah, I think it was tall grasses, you could intermingle them.
Yeah, I think that would be nice,
But,
but
you know,
Grasses you're supposed to cut down for the winter.
But just to be clear, like, I'm not held up on that. My issues are
this new
MS4
thing.
and the look, I guess the layout, the site
Yes.
plan, the actual site plan.
So what I've heard, and I don't mean to reiterate, but I would say, it sounds like parking, the display location needs to be rethought about and possibly pushed back. The applicant and the design engineer, I would suggest you look at section 220-76, which is the landscaping section. There is some specifics as it relates to this particular section, all districts and parking lots. It talks about shade trees within the parking lot area. That might be helpful. As it relates to stormwater, it sounds like the board would like you to consider the full stormwater compliance as it relates to mitigation for greater than 1 acre, being that this is a project of larger common plan of development. So that would be something to incorporate into the project as well.
And there
Yes.
was no lighting planned here, right? I didn't see any lighting of this area.
The
That's
original
not,
plan, we had shown lighting, code compliant lighting. The applicant has determined the lighting is not a good idea. He's not
Yeah.
trying to attract people up into the display area at night when the building's unattended. So
No,
they didn't
I agree.
put
That's
it-
good. I agree. I just wanted to clarify, make sure that wasn't something that we missed. Okay.
Okay, so do you need 2 weeks or 4 weeks to revise the plan?
Can you get it?
The next couple of dates are November 23rd. That's the second meeting in November. Or December 14th, which is your only meeting in December.
Or the 9th?
Is that too soon?
I think that's too
Well,
soon.
we
for
do-
them.
Well, because we have,
You'd have to get the stuff back to us in a week.
I don't think the 9th would work.
Move along if we
Yeah.
can get it done.
yeah, that's too much pressure.
We'll see.
Why don't we go for the 23rd?
23rd.
Motion to continue to the 23rd.
Okay,
I'll second that.
That was Gary.
Yes.
Thank you.
okay, so I have a motion and a second to continue the discussion on this application till our November 23rd. meeting. For discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
Okay,
thank you.
thanks,
Thank
Mike. All righty. We got Mark's Engineering representing Larry Wurges, owner of property at 4963 Waters Edge Drive, seeking a single stage site plan approval for the expansion of a driveway for a single family dwelling that is currently under construction. Mr. Wurges went to the ZBA last week. He did get relief from them. And this is an application that we should be familiar with. And just a little while ago, we saw this.
Yep, we just saw it.
So Brendan, do you
Yeah.
want to walk the
Yeah.
board through the changes?
Yeah, Chuck, do you hear me all right?
Yep.
All right, thank you. Yeah. So a little bit update, the house is actually constructed. The driveway is in. They're wrapping up the house, they're wrapping up the site. We came into a little dispute with the neighbors and a 10-foot right of way that's along the south property line that connects to the shoreline from Waters Edge Drive. So the dispute left us where we cannot access that Waters Edge Drive through that 10-foot right of way. We were forced to access Water's Edge Drive through the private right of way that's along the western side of the property that heads north-south. So if you go to the next page, Shauna, or maybe, so that's the original plan there. That is not allowable by the new owner that claimed that property land, that 10-foot strip. So is the new plan there?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the next,
There you go. That's the new.
so this is our revised driveway entrance to the site. It meets the maximum grade of 15%, so it's under that. And we've done stormwater mitigation for the driveway by adding an additional dry well on the west side of the driveway, just south of the garage. We did get the ZBA variance granted for this coverage increase. So that's where we are at. We're actually at the mercy here of this board to get this approved because the house is constructed, the garage is constructed, and we're removing the driveway that connects to Water's Edge Drive.
Okay. Question, board.
I mean, I don't necessarily have a problem with it, but I'm very curious as to why we go through this whole process of putting easements on drawings and all this kind of stuff. They're there, and then somebody decides, "Yep, I'm not gonna abide by it." I don't get that.
Well, someone bought the orphan parcel, which is.
Yeah.
And
But didn't it have an easement on there? And I thought that's why you have signed legal documents that provide right-of-ways, that some owner can't just come in there and say, yep, I don't need it anymore.
You've been on
I
this
don't.
board long enough to realize
But
a lot of times easements are not recorded. They're not.
I thought, but we've been pretty good at doing that over the past 3 or 4 years. I would imagine this was on, that we had an easement on here. That's what I just don't get.
Access easements we have along the lake.
And it's not really an easement. That piece of property, like Shauna mentioned, she says orphan, but that was a separate independent property that was in the deed of a lot of the people that live on Water's Edge Drive. And then one particular owner basically said that there's no access through that property, and they actually just filed a map of ownership of that property. I don't know if they necessarily bought it or not, but that would be a.
How did it differ from what you have where the driveway's coming onto now as far as Water Edge? Water Edge is not a public road. How does Water Edge differ from this easement?
Well, it's Water's Edge it's a separate piece of property that is in the deed of everyone that uses it for access. Basically, a line was drawn from the, you can almost see it, the adjoiner there.
Yep.
On the south was drawn perpendicular across the 10-foot easement. And basically that piece of property had a map filed on it under someone else's name. And the court process to go through that is very long and lengthy, and we chose to not bother with it.
Because Water's Edge on the subject property is subject to an easement to allow people.
The Water's Edge on the is actually an easement across Larry's property, which it's his private property. It just has a right of way easement across it. Water's Edge Drive is a ownership of the deeds that access it along of it. So there's no actual one owner on Water's Edge Drive, except for now the piece that connects from Water's Edge Drive to the shoreline, which is 10 feet wide, now has a recorded owner.
Now has.
This is crazy. I'll make a motion to approve CPN 21-076. Marks Engineering representing Larry Wedge as owner of property at 4963 Water Edge Drive for the single site plan approval for expansion of the driveway for single family dwelling that is currently under construction.
Moving back to seeker type 2.
And I'd like to combine that with a seeker type 2 negative declaration. No action, secret type 2, bundle those two for CPN 21-076, seeker type 2 action, and also the expansion of the driveway site plan approval. Any conditions, Lance?
Yeah, I kept the same conditions that were previously granted, not knowing how many of them have been approved or been complied with. At this point, I did add the variances to be detailed on the plans. And I think that was the last one I added. So there's a total of 8, 7 before, and I added the 8th one being the variances.
You can, well, Lance, we got a building permit, so we complied with all those. I don't know how many you can remove or not, but.
All right, so if I go through them right now,
We don't need to add that again.
yeah, if I go through the previous conditions, the soil stabilization and erosion control surety, you've already provided that to the town if you got a building permit.
Yep.
All right, that would be number 2, that can be removed. A site development permit that's already been provided, that can be removed.
Yep.
Water service application to be completed and provided to the town of Canandaigua, that can be removed because you already got that. Is that correct?
Yep, it's installed.
Okay. Prior to issuance of the C of O, that one's going to remain. That's an approval from the Canandaigua Lake County Sewer District regarding their review of the sewer district. I would request that one remain even if we're still working through others. Number 3, all comments from the water superintendent's letter from April. I believe those have all been addressed. We signed the plans. All variant, so right now I have the original one, which is 180 days. These plans would have to be signed again or get an extension. Number 2 would be prior to issuance of a C of O, Canandaigua Lake County Sewer District approval. And then number 3 is all variances as approved by the ZBA affiliated with this application are to be reflected on the plan. Are we good with those 3?
Yes.
I got it first by Ryan.
I'll second Amanda.
Okay, motion second. Yeah, Jim had a supplemental review on 914 plans. You mentioned his April 27th letter. That was for the original plan, but I think he reconstituted those issues on the water line in a 914 email. So you can add that. Shoreline Guidelines, okay, house is built. I know the ZBA had a discussion on this about possible impervious, but that's above and beyond what we're talking about here. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Brian.
Thank
Thanks,
Yeah,
Lloyd.
really bugs me. I know.
All righty.
If we had to write the main ones that I was playing, I put the owner of the plan.
You don't want any repercussions?
Yeah,
from
do
that, John?
I have a motion to approve the minutes from October 12th?
So moved.
Which John did a great job on. Considering the discussion. Okay, a motion. Amanda, you weren't here. Right?
Correct.
So,
I'll second.
You got a second.
Got a motion, a second, 3 of us will vote.
Aye.
Favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay,
Amanda does not vote.
The report from the town board. Have you had a chance to look through the proposed draft law for the scenic view shed?
Oh, no,
I have not.
no.
Okay, so why don't you need it again?
No, I think we've got, I just forgot, I just didn't look at it.
Well, I think we
I
can
don't
do
think-
it.
Yeah,
Pretty dramatic.
I do want to look at
It's
it.
significant.
It changed more.
It's simplified, but
It's
significant.
simplified, but very restrictive.
Very restricted.
On anything within the view shed, that purple area, remember the view shed map?
Yeah.
in The NRI?
Yep.
Anything within that view shed area would be subject to an overlay, this overlay, and the regulations that would require a minimum lot size of 1 acre. As
That's,
far as new lots, now,
that's.
that would
new
make,
creation.
that would make everything in the RLD not.
Right.
That's
It would absolutely.
But it would also forego any conservation subdivisions
Wow.
that could be done in the area. And if they did try to do a conservation subdivision, the lot area would be 1 acre. That would be the size for the determination of the base density. So
Is
it's
the,
essentially taking any
Wow,
type of high density
Yep.
off the hill.
now is the view shed only on the west side? Or is it
No,
on
it's
the east
No,
side
it's
as
on the
well?
east side.
So how would this affect
But it
Canandaigua
would
Shore
also
Lake,
be south.
Canandaigua
Right,
Shores,
it would absolutely affect.
Canandaigua Shores? Big
If
time.
it was passed.
Yeah,
And it's only south of 520.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because there were some view shed areas up,
Okay.
up County Route 28. And everybody's thinking, how do you see the lake from up there? But you can, yeah, that's
Yeah,
far
no,
enough,
no.
but you're not looking at the lake.
no, well, wintertime, trees are gone.
It
I have
would
a,
be
I have a much better view of the lake right now. than
I know, right?
It's beautiful. I can see the lake now.
helpful for the town board, I believe, to have at least a statement from the planning board, if you could review the overlay, and then we could talk about it at the ninth meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, that would be good.
When do they plan to take action?
They set the public hearing last month, so they'll be taking action in November. So you have.
Or they're
time.
just gonna open the public hearing?
They'll have a,
Right, they
but
could
yeah,
open
And that.
and close, they could open, take no action.
yeah, right.
Well,
I'm sorry.
sure it's gonna get some pushback.
It probably. So you have.
Well,
time
we'll
to
from
review it.
developers.
Can we
Well,
have a
okay.
conversation? Can we put that on the agenda, Chuck, to actually give us time, like,
Well,
talk
next meeting
about
be the
that?
9th.
The 9th.
Okay.
yeah.
The
like,
9th would be a good meeting for it too, because. it's small.
23rd's getting
Can we
big.
ask, is anyone from the town
23rd 's
want to
getting
talk
big.
about it? Does anybody for ECB or anybody want to present it to us?
It's not an ECB.
No, it's
not
on
their
ECB.
baby.
Who put it together?
Came out of the ordinance.
It's
The ordinance committee?
Ordinance?
Gary, does Gary want to come and give us a call?
Doug, maybe the best.
It's Doug's.
It's Doug's draft.
But it came up, oh, it's Doug's.
Yeah, you remember who was the consultant?
LeBurg?
There was a
Le-
draft
Labella?
for the
Labella?
bridge line.
Something.
Yes.
And
No,
it was-
it was Saratoga.
Saratoga?
Saratoga.
We've contracted them recently?
No, they did the first version in
Oh, years
2017.
Yes.
Mhm.
Hmm.
And it was very detailed and it was very.
Onerous.
Oh, I love those plans to read. Can I please get a hard copy?
I would love to give you a hard copy. I can give hard copies to everyone. It's 2 pages.
It's a page and a half. It's not much to it, yeah.
What?
Oh,
Hold
I
on
can-
a second. So, but,
Saratoga?
okay, so you're saying that the law that we're gonna look at, the proposed law is 2 pages long, but it refers to code. We'll say strike out this section, add this. Is it that type of a?
No, it's an
document?
addition to.
It's a brand new, it's a new overlay district. we're creating.
It's, okay.
It gives a lot of discretion to this board.
Mhm.
A
Hmm.
lot of discretion.
But there are.
I'm not sure I like
scenic-
that.
There are bridges within our rural areas.
You're gonna miss all this.
I know.
Right.
But-
Well,
but I'd like to look.
Let me
at-
go out
there's-
strong.
there's-
I'm
there's
going
rural
flames.
areas.
Deny it.
Burn it all to the
Yeah,
ground.
right.
Continued,
Yeah,
Would reduce that down to 1 acre? I
no,
have a
it would
question.
not. It would just say,
John, for the record, we're gonna talk about it on the 9th. then, okay?
I will get you a hard copy along with the map.
Perfect.
No
Thank you.
ZBA issues, no code
No
enforcement
ZBA.
issues, no fun. We have a request from Mr. Lewis to, for a 90-day extension.
So moved.
Did Mr. Lewis give us a reason?
Yeah, I think we're gonna continue to see this delays in construction because of COVID-related pricing.
Really?
Oh, I do too.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I know one home builder said to me that the cost of lumber has increased 30,000 per home.
Per house.
Per
Yeah.
house.
Yes, I don't.
So that's a
Good
significant.
luck.
I know. Thanks a lot. Yeah.
So that's-
Perfect timing.
I think that's just gonna-
Perfect timing.
Get, Lance or Sean, whoever prepares the resolution, just have the whereas,
I can't.
the reason for the extension.
Okay, so you want the reason in the resolution?
I like that. I want the small house, but the lot requires minimum of 25.
So, Mr. Chairman, are you asking, I can revise the resolution to add whereas, and then due to the COVID, 2020.
Just moving forward, future
Okay.
extension requests have reasons for why.
So what I think we've done in the past is when the applicant requests the waiver, we ask them to provide a reason in an email to the development office. And that way we can reference that. in the
We have
resolution.
a form that I actually found that
Awesome.
we're gonna use that.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
is there.
That has a reason.
No, it's there. Good.
Okay, do I have a motion? I have a motion.
Yeah, so
Oh.
moved on the extension.
Extension? And a second from
Second, Amanda.
Amanda. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Right?
Okay. I see, good news and bad news with Gary. Currently sold the house, but the bad news is
Good, I have.
you're moving.
Yeah, we are.
So I think we also Gary's resignation email, certainly, not to swallow, but hey, bigger, better things, right? And your last meeting will be the 23rd?
Yeah.
Okay, because you made it
Yeah.
the 24th.
You picked the busiest night. to
Well,
have-
I made it effective the day after the last meeting, so I could be here on that.
We might still be meeting on the
Yeah,
24th.
long as, yeah, if it goes to midnight, I'm out of here at midnight. That's it, I'm done.
Okay, so again, our loss, no doubt about it.
And I don't know if, where I'm actually gonna be in the
So the
23rd.
ninth,
I might have to
I'm not gonna read
call
what
in,
we have
Zoom in.
coming up, it's not real
You
heavy.
might call in, so.
Yeah, I might have to make notice. I'll know how much time do we need to say, oh, Gary Humes will be zooming in from
As soon as you know. At
something,
least I think 2
something.
weeks.
These 2 weeks, all right, figure that out, because I don't know if I'll have
So
a
we can
bed still in
invite
my room.
everyone to your
I'm
new
sorry,
place.
talking about this meeting?
No, on the 23rd, if I'm not, because we're kind of thinking it's that weekend, 19th, I might be moving a lot of
Okay.
stuff, so I might not have a bed in my current home. So, yeah.
Pretty sure those chairs that you're sitting right now can go all the way back, Gary.
Oh, Lance.
Jeez.
All right, 23rd. The 8:40 was booked for the 23rd. What happened to the Lamar issue? Do they come back?
They will come back because it was everything was
Agreements.
settled at the last town board meeting. So we will see
there's two-
something.
Which one's that now?
The
Lamar
billboard,
signs
the electronic.
Oh, the elect.
Yeah.
And I guess the last thing I have is
Can't take a short.
with the town board's denial of the rezoning, or the extension of the rezoning on Canandaigua Shores, what action do we have to take, if any? I know we are scheduled for a public hearing on the 23rd to reconvene on that. Do we reconvene and then just say due to the action of the town board, where this null and void, or?
I spoke with Chris about
Did they
this at
deny
length,
the?
I don't know.
and he said we can keep the hearing, it's not a public hearing, is it?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, continue the public hearing. There's nothing yet that's null and void, meaning that it's still open, correct? It's still an active application.
So that was, I guess that's my question to the town. With the town's denial of the MUO request, then I was under the impression null and void, we don't have an application before the planning board anymore. Because technically we can't take action on something that requires that approval from the town board. But I haven't received that formality from anybody at the town that supports that. So maybe I'm making that up. It probably doesn't hurt to keep them on the agenda for the public hearing, but I guess my thoughts are if legal counsel says we don't have to, why do it, right? I'm sorry, Ryan, I saw your hand, I apologize.
Yeah, I guess my question is for Lance and maybe Shauna, and I guess Chuck too, is what was the vote of the town board on Monday pertaining to Canandaigua Shores?
Who wants to answer?
Denial of the extension of
4
the
to 1.
rezoning of the MUO.
It was 4 to 1.
It was 4-1.
Kathy voted yes. The other board
John
members voted.
circulated the resolution.
But John, what was the resolution?
What did it
Was
say?
it denial, or was it that it was a continuation, or was it?
They denied the extension,
The extension of the 90 days.
and it expired on Sunday.
Yeah, when they originally approved the authorization of them moving forward with an MUO application, it had an extension date on it. That extension date was sometime either last week.
Sunday.
So they came before the town board to get approval to get an extension on that MUO request, which required them to get an approval or an extension during that time frame. My understanding is the town board denied it based on reasons that they felt the application wasn't compliant with the town's requirements, or they weren't working with the town to satisfy the concerns. I'm not speaking directly from the resolution, the findings, but from my understanding, and that therefore they denied the extension. Now, that's step one in that application process, is getting that approval. They had it, it's now expired. I don't understand how we would have an application to act on. I'm not sure what we could act on. But to that effect, I'd feel more confident and comfortable knowing that you had something from legal that says this is what you're supposed to do. Without it, obviously, I think we just move forward like you normally would, have your public hearing, have the applicant go through whatever spiel they're going to go through. But in the meantime, I would encourage the town to seek legal counsel's opinion on it and see what if anything we need to have, and have them write that in an email to you guys.
Okay, so just to be clear, so it was a 90-day extension. So like we just did, we just approved a 90-day extension from the original expiration date for this other represented the John Lewis property. If we ever do not grant those extensions, they kill the projects.
So this extension, and again, I'm not legal, so I could be
Right.
This extension is different than those. So when we approve a project, they have, in essence, 1 year to get signatures. We break it up into 180 days and then 290 days extensions. Once they get up signatures, they then by default have 2 years to get the project constructed or to start construction. So it's basically a 3-year window from any project that gets approved in Canandaigua to start construction, just by the technicality of what has to happen. But they have to get signatures, and our extensions by law are 180-day and then 290-day extensions. This is different. This one, by the resolution approved by the board, which I'm assuming doesn't say that they have to have 180 days and then it dies. I think maybe they put that deadline on there because they wanted to. Maybe they put that deadline on there because they didn't want it to drag out for 3 years. I'm not sure. Maybe it's required for them, and I have to read up on it more, why that deadline was on there. But there was a deadline. They required them to go back to the town board to get that authorization, and the town board denied it. And I believe
Deadline
that.
is in town code. Yeah.
Okay,
Is it in code?
so that,
Yeah, it's in the MUO section, yeah.
all right, so that doesn't mean they can't come back and start that process all over again, request a thing.
Yeah, that would be a new application. And
Right,
so if it was-
new application.
They could either comply with underlying zoning district, come in just to you guys as a normal application. That would change, though. That would look dramatically different than what you saw.
Yep.
Or they could come back in with an amended MUO application, go get the town board authorization, and then come back before you, beginning this process all over again. But the existing process, the one that we're currently in, I believe is done. It's stopped.
Well, so I'm just thinking, since we've continued to the 23rd. So what I'm kind of thinking is continue that. I mean, have it on the 23rd and have them come in and basically tell us what their plans are. If they still want to pursue this, at least they're getting more feedback from us as to what we would deem acceptable in that area. And then that would help them, inform them as to whether they want to go back again, start the MUO process again, or whether they want to say, "Oh, forget it, I'm going to go to single family homes or something." Yeah.
I can,
I think
off
Doug has
the
some
record,
ideas.
if that's okay. Can I, off the record, if that's okay, I've had dialogue with Brennan due to the complexity of the project and town of Hopewell. And so off the record, Hopewell at their meeting on Monday, per our request, continued their application to a later date. The reason for that continuation is because the application that's before them requires you guys to have an application, which again, my understanding and my recommendation to them was that they couldn't take action on it as it exists. So my conversations with Brendan were to request an extension, which he did, and then provide an alternative plan to the town of Hopewell that shows a dead end road with a cul-de-sac or a hammerhead, and then the sewer connection that goes through Canandaigua. That sewer connection would require an application be made to the town of Canandaigua, which I think in general would be a permit with Chris in the town. Upon receipt of that, the planning board for Hopewell, possibly at their November meeting, assuming we get that information, could be in a position to approve preliminary and final of their portion of the project with those changes. Obviously, there would be some conditions. Now, talking with Brendan about this project, he did make it sound as if the applicant might be interested in coming back and pursuing an alternative plan, to which they're obviously going to want feedback from the town staff and the planning board. But again, this is off the record, just my ongoing conversations with the two entities that we're discussing.
If they decide to pursue the MUO, they'd have to go back to a concept plan similar to what we saw. And we sort of said that the idea of that type of land use was applicable to that lot. We were very careful to say that we in no way condoned or approved the layout of
Right.
the property.
Yeah, but
So I think that sort of kicked, and he'd have to go through that again.
Yep.
If he wanted to do MUO, or if he does it the R120,
R120.
then it would be a standard
Standard site
subdivision.
plan.
You could do a conservation subdivision.
Yeah.
Unless the scenic overlay applies.
well, that's what we got, yeah.
Then you're into 1 acre lots and.
Versus
Then some.
20,000.
But I do think it would be important to get something in writing from Chris about what the town's current position is on the application and have that available for your next board meeting so that we can read that into the record.
Yeah, I
and
just
do it
wanted
however
to
we
bring
can.
it up tonight just for discussion, so we know at some
Anticipate.
point what action, if any, we have to take.
Right, I agree.
I know we continue to get emails and correspondence from some of the folks that live out there. I don't know if they totally understand that this thing has died, but
I probably not.
certainly they keep expressing their concerns and we'll keep accepting them. I got another one today. So anyway, no action on that. You're good.
Interesting.
I think all that being entered in, there's nothing else on it.
What, 23rd?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I thought. No, we can't.
All right. Anybody else have anything?
There's a candy.
Motion to adjourn at 8:24 PM.
Thank you.
Second?
All in favor?
All right.
Ayes have it. Okay, folks, thank you.
Good being Chuck.
Cool.